Son of a gun, we're actually doing a show.
Yeah, we're recording and everything.
Holy crap, man! Where that is this isn't 2020, right?
No, we returned that.
Oh, thank God. We
And
canceled
we
that.
traded in for next year's model.
Yes.
Literally.
New car smell. Yes. Welcome to Wrestling with Ego sans RJ tonight. We'll explain why in just a minute. And yes, we're gonna make fun of the poor son of a gun. I'm Patrick. That's Brian. And let's go ahead and be honest. Welcome to the 2021 Egie Awards. We got to come up with a better name for that, but whatever. We'll have a better one for next year. But you know what? So much has happened. We hope your holidays were amazing. I can speak for all three of our families and our collective Wrestling with Egos family. Christmas and New Year's kicked ass. You know, across the board. Kicked ass.
Agreed.
It is January 9th, 2021. Happy birthday, Nurse. Hello, Nurse. The missus turned 21 again today. Safe bet right there. She's 21 again. We just won't say how many times. So, so many things have happened over the last 3-4 weeks since we've been on our holiday hiatus. Alliteration, boys and girls. So many things have happened. We got to talk about some. And as funny and as jovial as we've been tonight, before we get into the sucky part of the end of 2020, Brian, how the hell are you, my brother?
I'm doing well, good sir. Thank you for asking. Our holiday season was joyous. It was festive. We were actually able to do quite a bit of things. Just the two of us, the Lovebird and myself, and then with some family. We celebrated responsibly, but we still made a lot of great memories, had a lot of fun. Enjoyable to spend time with family.
And may or may not have had a surprise visit to my house and dropped off cookies.
Yes.
Cookies.
We're glad you like them.
Oh yes, very much so. They did not last long. So I thank you. All joking aside, let's get the sucky part out of the way. We get the sucky part out of the way because it's also probably one of the more important things of 2020. And that was the tragic passing of Jon Huber, Brody Lee. 41 years old, passed of a non-COVID related lung issue. We've heard the real reasons through Jim Ross and some other channels. We're not going to get into them. Doesn't matter. What matters is this is a guy that was an outstanding father of two, a devoted husband, and one of the single most underappreciated wrestlers of the last 10 flipping years.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know what? It's Saturday. You know what that means. Had to get that one in, damn it. But the news came out of nowhere for everybody because while everybody in AEW knew what was going on, kudos to them for keeping it close to the vest. Because let's be honest, as you know, we're all wrestling fans. We all like to know this inside information, but none of us really needed to know that. We didn't need to know it. It's, in a world where we know everybody's business, if you're some sort of celebrity, we didn't need to know that crap. And it wouldn't have made the sting any less suck. But we lost Brody. His last match was the dog collar match with Cody for the TNT Championship back in October. He come to find out he lost it because he needed to go get his illness addressed. And there was hope that he was going to turn the corner, but it unfortunately did not happen. Um, what I want to talk about as far as this isn't his great moments, isn't his amazing work as the exalted one of the Dark Order, or even his underrated as a mofo work as Luke Harper in WWE. I want to talk about the tribute. AEW's tribute show to him was one of the most painful to watch and beautiful things I've ever seen in wrestling.
You
And
could tell that everybody was hurting. From the top guy,
oh yeah,
all the bit player, everybody was hurting.
can I say something even more important than that? Everybody gave a damn.
Yes.
Um, here's what I took away from this. It was painful to watch. It was beautifully done. And if the tagline of our show ever rings true on anything, this is why we love wrestling.
Agreed.
Because of that. Everything they did, from basically taking Brody's, Jon Huber's son, Brody, and putting every one of his favorite AEW talent on the card, and basically almost as if little Brody, aka -1, as
He
if
was the booker.
as he was exactly as if he was the booker. Um, and you had Dark Order on every card. Dark Order, by the way, undefeated that night.
And I'm going to selfishly say that I'm proud enough to have picked up on the fact that even what MGF was doing to him, I'm sure was part of the whole thing.
Yeah.
Because MJF was still being the prick.
MJF was being MJF.
But the fact that he was face to face with Brody's son and not really paying attention to anybody else, not playing anybody else, that was in a twisted, perverse way. That was a nice little connection between the two of them.
And then he pulled the mask off, and then he got clocked in the head with the kendo stick.
Yes.
I was like,
high and tight with the kendo stick.
huh?
I said high and tight with the kendo stick, too.
MJF took a more snug shot upside the head with the kendo stick than Abaddon did last week from Sheeta. And that one was high and tight, too. Damn. The little dude just goes, Hassan chop, right on top of MJF's head. Got him like right down Main Street, right there. Like, damn.
Here's my biggest takeaway from the whole, from when we heard the news all the way through the tribute show and even a couple of weeks thereafter. I can't remember a person who was more universally adored, in recent memory anyway, but it seems like everybody, doesn't matter what promotion you belong to, because there were WWE guys that were posting tributes and they were beautiful. Woods was in tears and Kofi was in tears and stuff like that. But all over the place, from all corners of the world, you heard stories about just what a great human being Jon Huber is.
Yes.
And that's what I'm going to take away from all of this.
Me as well. When you have guys breaking character to deliver these heartfelt tributes, Bray Wyatt's was heartbreaking to read.
That was a gut wrench.
Oh, it was brutal. But just this is a guy whose legacy may not be, it may not be because he was a great wrestler, which he was, but for the vast majority of his career, highly underappreciated. He's about as underappreciated as I am short. Yeah, I mean, I'm not Marco Stunt short, but I'm short. But
he's not wrong, folks.
No, I'm not. His legacy is going to be that this guy may have very well been a saint. Universally loved, and the only two people I can compare him to that we lost tragically, Owen and Eddie.
Yeah.
That's it.
And it's very apparent to me how many people are better people for having worked with him, picked his brain, ran with him.
Member of the Dark Order.
And you know who really seemed like it took it the worst out of all of them?
Silver.
I would argue Anna Jay too.
Oh,
I mean, she was disconsolate throughout that whole match she was in.
Yeah. Well, I would say both of them, because you could tell, and from interviews that I've heard from both of them, in the wake of his passing, he believed in them when a lot of other people wouldn't. And they're going to be better for it. Let me give you one more thing before we move on, because we can talk about this all night, but we got other stuff. If you want proof of how damn amazing of a human being Jon Huber was, FTR, arguably the greatest tag team on the planet, 1 and 1A with the Bucks. FTR announced that they're changing the name of their finisher, formerly known as the Shatter Machine, now formerly known as the Goodnight Express. They're changing the name to the Big Rig, which was Huber's original ring name when he was like in Ring of Honor and Shikara and places like that.
That's class.
They literally are changing the name to honor him. And that's going to be a permanent thing, because Harwood and Wheeler aren't going anywhere.
Nope.
Harwood and Wheeler are going to be around for a while. They're both like in their early 30s. So yeah, that's huge. Prayers and thoughts to John's wife and his kids. But let's be honest, they're in the best hands possible, because that group in Jacksonville is not going to let them be forgotten.
Agreed.
Also want to point out, Tony Khan handed the TNT championship to Little Brody. And that was the last time we saw that championship belt. The very next week, Darby Allin has a new belt. It actually looks better, which is really hard to say, because the red title belt was freaking gangster. But this one is better, and honestly, I'm glad they did, because that's Brody's belt.
Yeah.
That's Brody's belt. So let's move on. Because, again, it's Saturday. You know what that means. So let's get caught up on some things that have happened very recently in the world of professional wrestling. Don't know if you know it or not, but we had a really big show over in Japan a few days ago, a little thing called Wrestle Kingdom. And we have a brand new IWGP Heavyweight Champion, and I cannot believe I'm going to say this, they actually gave the man the title. Kota Ibushi not only beat Naito on night 1, but he beat Jay White on night 2. Holy crap, they actually did it. They gave him the freaking belt. I honestly, truly, dude, I thought Kota Ibushi was going to end up being like the Susan Lucci of New Japan. No, seriously. Like,
I know.
Oh my God, Ibushi is amazing. The guy's been good for years.
But what would you say, like 8 or 9 at this point, or longer than that?
Oh, yeah. I mean, dude, when WWE did the Cruiserweight Classic, he was the first guy they got. He would have been in WWE if they would have offered him more money, which is why he lost in the semifinals. But, I mean, don't get me wrong, I am very glad to see the fact that Ibushi has both championships. I hate the fact that they pretty much are unifying the Intercontinental and the heavyweight title. I think it's dumb. RJ will probably disagree, and that's fine. His opinion versus mine. But
I would be anti-unification also, because that's one less title you have to put on an up-and-comer.
Right. And especially when your United States Championship hasn't been defended since March.
Right.
Because Jon Moxley's stuck in his own country. To give it to him, to me, signifies not necessarily that we're getting away from these other guys, but we're finally moving in a different direction. We're getting away from the usual suspects of New Japan Pro Wrestling.
Okay.
They're doing in New Japan, they're doing in 2021 what WWE did in 2020. We're putting the belt on a guy that has deserved it for years and has been on the precipice of just being just like uber badass. And hopefully, my hope is that Ibushi will do with this what Drew McIntyre did with the WWE title in 2020. This could very well be his year. I mean, we literally saw it happen last year. Drew eliminates Brock in the Rumble, and it's just the rest of the year. After Mania, the guy literally went 45 days without the WWE title.
And Ibushi is more than capable of having bangers with anybody.
Duh.
Insert name of opponent here. He will give you a 4.5, 5-star match with that person.
How long ago was the Cruiserweight Classic? Like 4 years ago?
I want to say 2016, yes.
All right.
Or maybe it was 17. I can't remember.
Whatever it was. He gave a 4.5, at least a 4-star match with freaking TJP.
Yeah.
He had a 5-star match with Cedric Alexander. Don't get me wrong. Both of those guys are really, really good.
But they're not elite, And
I don't mean this elite.
Yeah, it's,
Get to this too. Holy crap.
What did you just do there, sir?
The last 3 weeks in wrestling have just been freaking mind-blowing. Okay, we literally have gone from the absolute suctitude of losing Brody Lee to the what the hell is happening with AEW Dynamite this past Wednesday. Let's rewind just a few months. When we last joined you, or maybe it might have been the show before we last joined you, Kenny Omega had just won the AEW World Heavyweight Championship. RJ is on this show on the verge of tears. RJ, 7 words or less. How'd you sleep last night? I slept with the title.
You can go back and roll the footage.
Go back and roll the footage. It happened.
It's there on bit.ly/with egos. It's there.
Yes. It happened. Okay, so during that show, we are lamenting over the fact, man, it would be really cool. So now, so Kenny's going to Impact. And the Good Brothers are there. Man, that's going to be cool if they do something with them. Man, that would be awesome. But you know what would be even more awesome? If they did something with the Good Brothers and the Bucks. But that's not gonna...
That can't happen, can it?
We didn't think so. Boy, were we wrong. So first off, Dynamite ends with a 2021 match of the year candidate. By the way, so did NXT New Year's Evil, O'Reilly and Balor again.
Yes, I'd argue there were two of them on NXT. Because Rhea Ripley and Raquel Gonzalez threw down too.
Woo, yeah.
But Ray Phoenix can do no wrong as far as I'm concerned. That dude.
God no. Underrated as hell. Because Penta gets more attention than Ray Phoenix. I don't know why, but he does. Moving right along. Match is over. Moxley comes out. All hell breaks loose. Here come the Good Brothers. They're beating the Good Brothers and Kenny are beating the crap out of anybody that moves because talent's jumping the guardrail trying to get in the ring. Here come the Bucks to try to be peacemakers and super kick. What's going on? Kenny stands in the middle of the ring. Gallows and Anderson stand next to him. They're yelling at the Bucks. They look dejected. And then all of a sudden, two more of these come in. What?
Yeah. Excuse me?
Literally, it's Michael Scott from The Office. Oh my God, it's happening. It's happening. The last thing I expected to see. The first thing I hoped to see. The last thing I expected to see. Let's go ahead and get the crassness out of the way. I think I can speak for all three of us when I say this. 2 words, #wrestling orgasm. Sorry. I know you hate when I do that, B, but there's no other way to explain it. That was like a euphoric mark out of epic proportions.
But if AEW has taught me anything this past month, here's what I think they're going to do with it. Like they do with a lot of other things, they're going to slow play it.
Of course they are.
You're not going to see, the Elite, or you're not going to see Bullet Club of Jace rushing in and breaking up matches every 5 seconds. You're going to see strategic deployment of that when it counts, like when there's the most eyes on the product, when there's the most at stake.
Right, because they have no problem playing this thing that we like to call the long game. They also have no problem teasing their audience, which is something that WWE does not do. Ever. Tell me I'm wrong. Anyway.
I will tell you you're wrong because they did it on Wednesday last week. Because who was in the crowd watching Finn Balor and Kyle O'Reilly? Pete Dunne.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But you know what? They'll start to pay that off next week.
Yeah, I know. That's true. But still, I saw that and I'm like, hey, now.
Hey, WWE teases for a week and then gives up the goods the next week.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm being a little bit more crass. They don't put out on the first date. They put out on the second date. Sorry, Brian. I know you hate when I do this, but I'm amped up. It's a Passion Tango lemonade from Starbucks, and I'm on my second one. I'm a little, and by the way, I get a lot of sugar in this stuff. So I'm a little bit hyper. I'm a little bit loud, and I've peed about 700 times already today. Rock and roll.
That's why we rake in the viewers every week, folks.
Say what?
That's why we rake in the viewers every week, folks.
Exactly. By the way, thank God I didn't get any coffee tonight. Moving right along. They're going to slow play this like they always do. They're not going to give it up on the second date. They're going to make you earn it. And it's going to be worth it. Why? Because let's be honest, it always is. COVID or not, Dave, every long play that AEW has done is paid off. The Exalted One is coming. The exalted one is coming, and had it not been for COVID, Brody Lee would have shown up in Rochester, New York, his hometown, to a godlike pop. But COVID. Imagine me throwing up a middle finger right now. I'm keeping the language and the hand gestures, except for this, to a minimum. But yeah, COVID. Go fudge yourself. Anyway, moving right along. This has been an unexpected payoff. It's been an amazing payoff, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they do moving forward into the next couple of months, because we're not going to get another pay-per-view until Revolution, which I think is next month.
I think you're correct. Beginning of February.
Quite possibly. So, any thoughts on this before we move into what we all came here to see tonight?
No, I mean, it's a great assemblage of talent. It forces everybody in both promotions to kind of up their game even more, because if you're going to beat somebody from this collective, you're going to have to earn it.
Right.
You know, Ray Phoenix, for example, came within 3 or 4 eyelashes of actually pinning Omega.
Right.
There was a couple of times where I thought, my God, Phoenix is going to pin him on that move, and he didn't. Sure, he's going to pin him on that move, and he didn't. So, right. I mean...
And there were some great matches, great moves that Phoenix had.
Yes.
Kenny's Kenny. But amazing. So, let's break out the drum roll. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 2021 Egie Awards. Yeah, I really went Rocky and Bullwinkle on that one. Deal with it, boys and girls.
I told you we'd be handing out the hardware, boys and girls.
Got the hardware. Here is your host for tonight's ceremonies, Ryan Kriego.
Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the second annual Wrestling with Ego's Egie Awards. We have all of the top categories, and we're ready to hand out the hardware in all of them. We put some polls up on Twitter. We wanted to thank you to those who participated in the polls. We had fierce debate in the Wrestling with Ego's Think Tank War Room about all of these categories. And we're going to hand out the awards. We're going to share with you our thinking behind them. And this is really going to lay the groundwork for what we hope is going to be a spectacular 2021 in terms of professional wrestling. I thought we would start with the Moment of the Year award. And here are your nominees for Moment of the Year. Your nominees for Moment of the Year are Adam Hangman Page arriving on a horse at the Stadium Stampede, Jay White beating Kota Ibushi for the NJPW briefcase. I'm sure it's actually called something else. I'm sorry.
IWGP.
Yes. Sting returning on AEW Dynamite Winter is Coming in December. Edge returning at number 21 in the Royal Rumble, and Becky Lynch announcing her pregnancy hiatus and ceding the Raw Women's Championship to Asuka.
All of those moments great. Some funny, some really heartwarming. And we had a nice little debate about this. But when it came down to it, all three of us, when we had our final meeting over the holiday break to determine awards and things of that nature, it came down to one thing: which one garnered the most emotional response? So with that being said, may I distribute this one, since I actually know the winner?
Oh, you sure can.
And the 2021 Egie for Moment of the Year goes to It's kind of ironic that it's the year 2021. Wink, wink. The return of Edge
To you, sir.
at 21 at the Royal Rumble. Um, Literally, I want to point out one thing. RJ's exact words when we discussed this. I started the discussion off with, how can it not be Edge? RJ's exact words. How can you, the biggest Sting mark in the entire world, not go with Sting? It was like, because Sting has been talked about in the rumor mills for the last several months going to AEW. Nobody saw Edge coming.
True.
And that's pretty much it. Don't get me wrong. I was pumped as hell to see Sting. I was happy as hell for Becky and Seth. Hangman charging into the stadium on a horse was one of the most ridiculously awesome things I have ever seen, ever. The Stadium Stampede itself was just
Bonkers
and amazing, and one of those, this is why we love wrestling moments. But nothing was holy crap, this is happening, more than Edge. I mean, I'll give you a comparison. The same reaction that we gave Edge when he came out at 21 in the Rumble, that same holy crap, this is happening, just happened this past Wednesday on Dynamite.
Yes.
Holy crap, this is happening. So we agreed. There you go.
So let it be written, so let it be done.
You think you know me. Let's move on to the next one, which I believe is Tag Team of the Year. Oh.
Nope. Right. We're saving that one for later. Our next award is given out in the category of Breakout Performer of the Year, actually.
Yes.
The nominees this year are friend of show, Thunder Rosa, Yoshi-Hashi, and Orange Cassidy.
Okay. I gotta do it. I gotta do it. We begrudgingly agreed that we could not give this to Thunder Rosa, because if we did, we would just come out completely, utterly as marks.
Which we are unapologetically. However,
we are unapologetically marks for Thunder Rosa. We do not deny this. So it is with a heavy heart, because we don't want to give it to someone not named Thunder Rosa, but we can't be marks. You know what? Screw it. We're gonna be marks. No, actually, no, we're not. We did agree that since we can't be marks, the Egie for Breakout Star of the Year goes to Orange Cassidy.
Can you carry it home for me?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not going to carry it off the stage. Can you carry it here? Here, you want to carry it?
And for us, Orange Cassidy was an obvious choice, because he literally went from who the hell is this guy to oh crap.
I can't think of another performer that has the layers and nuance that he does.
Oh my God, yeah.
Because, and I said this before on the show, originally I knew him as the guy who didn't wrestle when he was in a wrestling match.
Right.
But when you watch more of his matches, you realize there's an end game there. There's strategy there. There's
nuance.
Yes. And that's, we like shades in our characters. It can't just be, straight ahead power all the time and the flippy stuff all the time. You have to have, nuance.
To quote a great philosopher named Shrek, much like onions have layers, ogres have layers, and so does Orange Cassidy. I made a Shrek reference on our show. That's what kind of a mood I'm in tonight, boys and girls.
That's clutch.
This is a great night. But that's pretty much what it came down to. Now, if we're talking about of these people that are nominees, who's the better wrestler? It's Thunder Rosa by 15 miles. And I'm not being a mark about that. But at the end of the day, Orange Cassidy went from who the hell is this guy to, oh, hell, it's this guy.
Major player. And he also forced himself into the spotlight several times this year too. The one I referred to was when, Cody finally won the TNT Championship off of Brody, and the anniversary show was the following week, and he says, "I'm going to put this on the line. I'm issuing a challenge to anyone in the back who wants to." Orange Cassidy was the last person I was expecting to walk out.
Right.
And he walked out, but there was just a little bit of difference in the way he walked out. Like, okay, I want that championship.
Yeah, and then it went from that to his feud with Jericho.
Yes.
His feud with Jericho was absolutely perfect because Jericho approached Orange Cassidy as a joke, like a true heel should approach Orange Cassidy as a joke, not taking him seriously. And then you have the things like the debate that they had, which, let's be honest with ourselves. By all rights, this should have been the dumbest horse crap ever in pro wrestling.
And yet,
it was the exact opposite. It was brilliant. Jericho played it off to perfection. He was quintessential Chris Jericho. And then you add a cameo from Eric Futhermuckin Bischoff. And then Cassidy gives his answers about the environment. And you're like, what?
I must have rewound that like 3 times, and I still didn't understand.
It was beautiful.
Yeah.
The only thing I can compare it to, and I have been very open and honest about the fact that lately I have become a huge fan of 83 Weeks with Eric Bischoff. Very recently, he and Conrad Thompson broke down the episode, The Trial of Eric Bischoff, when Vince McMahon fired him and John Cena and John Cena FU'd him, and then Vince threw him in the trash truck and drove out of the building. It's like Maria when she showed up. Her airheaded little character, she wanted Mr. Sacco to ask her the questions, and he did, and then Maria gave this 400 level answer with big words. She had Brian Crego's vocabulary through this. And you're like, literally, this is the same thing. And I was like, oh my God, this is so good. And then you get the Mimosa Mayhem match, which should have been dumb as hell, but it was not. He's a breakout because there's no way you should have taken him seriously, and he was taken seriously while not being taken seriously.
Yep.
So, but he's not Thunder Rosa.
Stipulated.
Breakout star of the year, Orange Cassidy. Baddest of the badasses and most kick-ass of the kick-asses, Thunder Rosa.
Hashtag La Mera Mera. And that brings us to our third category of the evening. Been rechristened the Nia Jax Memorial Worst Performer of the Year Award, because how could we not name it after her?
Right. Well deserved. I mean, she's injured more people. She's put more people in the hospital than COVID.
And the nominees are...
Maybe not. She put more people in the hospital than gout.
Okay, that's fair. The nominees for this award are Carmella, Jim Ross, and of course, how could we forget Nia Jax, because we named the award after her.
Right. Brian, would you like to do the honors for this, or do I get to?
You get to. Go ahead.
All right.
I can see you're chomping at the bit.
Oh, very much so. I'm very excited for this one because I don't think you need to realize, I don't think you need to use your brains, ladies and gentlemen, to figure out where we're going with this one. The winner of the 2021 Nia Jax Memorial Worst Performer of the Year, Ricky freaking Starks.
Oh, we didn't put his name on the card and the ballot. Oh, I'm sorry, Ricky, but here you go.
That's how much this guy sucks.
Here's a nice door prize for you on the way out.
Job, Ricky Starks. So bad, his name ain't even on the trophy.
Button up your shirt, dude. I mean, honestly, nobody wants to see your, one pack.
Nobody wants to see your one pack. Nobody wants to see your dime store looking rock haircut and your dime store looking rock chain from the freaking turtleneck fanny pack picture of his. Nobody wants to see this. Nobody wants to see you playing a crappy ass air guitar every 17 seconds. Look, wrestlers play air guitar all the time. Kyle O'Reilly is like the Eddie Van Halen of wrestling air guitar. Tanahashi is like Clapton. And then there's Ricky Starks.
Even the Hulkster was passable. Uh-oh, we're getting a prop.
I am a better guitar player than Ricky Starks is an air guitar player. And I know 2 freaking chords.
You can't get an incisive analysis like that in any other podcast, folks.
That's my prop for the night, boys and girls. Nobody else is in this house. I can be as loud as hell as I want tonight.
That's fine.
Everybody else is
moving right along.
Moving right along.
Because the less time we spend on that category, the better.
Exactly. Congratulations, Ricky. You still suck.
The next award will be handed out in the category of Feud of the Year, and we had a lot of juicy feuds from which to choose from.
Boy, did we ever.
Your nominees this year for Feud of the Year are Roman Reigns versus Jey Uso, Cody Rhodes and Mr. Brody Lee, the Young Bucks and FTR, and Sammy Guevara and Matt Hardy.
Yeah. We didn't discuss this one, but I want to throw in an honorable mention.
Sure thing.
Because it blew under the radar, but it was written really, really well. And I can't believe I'm saying this because it's WWE and women's division that doesn't involve a title. Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville.
Yes, I like that.
It was actually really, really good. And it probably would have been a whole hell of a lot better if it would have been able to continue because Sonya Deville actually had to take time off because somebody tried to kill her.
Yeah.
Thank God she's back.
Yes. Welcome back, Sonya.
Very glad to see her back. But let's be honest, that was really good.
That definitely can get in there as an honorable mention. The winner in this category, richly deserved for reasons which we will get into momentarily. Congratulations to the Young Bucks and FTR for winning Feud of the Year.
I can give my reasons for this in 2 words. Freaking dumb.
You look at how the feud came together, though, in all seriousness. We were talking in the pre-show meeting. This was a feud several years in the making.
Mm-hmm.
These 4 guys had kind of been circling, towards each other and kind of, clicking all the pieces in place for a meeting like this. And then when FTR came over to AEW, you kind of could see the writing on the wall that, hey, we're headed for a showdown. And it played off brilliantly.
The minute they showed up, you knew. It had to happen. I wish they would have waited a little while longer, but it was inevitable. Death, taxes, FTR, and the Bucks.
There's only a few things you can count on in this life, folks.
And me being gorgeous. Moving right along.
Yeah, moving right along to Tag Team of the Year. Some under the radar candidates in this category.
Yes.
And a lot of deserving candidates across the board. Your nominees are Dangerous Techers out of New Japan, Hangman Adam Page and Kenny Omega, the Street Profits, FTR, and the Young Bucks.
Okay, let me jump in here.
Jump in.
All of those tag teams are great. You know who this argument came down to. And this was not when we had our think tank meeting. This was not a discussion. This was an argument. All three of us were at literally, let's call it what it is. RJ had the vote for the Bucks. I had the vote for FTR. We're both a little biased in this. We spent 20 minutes trying to convince this guy to vote with us. And I kid you not, we watched him back and forth at least 4 times. RJ would convince him that he was right. I would convince him that I was right. RJ would counterpoint. I would counterpoint. It was tennis. Just. And can I be honest?
And I'm the guy in the meme with all the calculus on the chalkboard going.
This is the last thing I'll say, and then I'll turn it over to you, Brian, and you can give reasons and everything else. I still don't know who he's voting for. No pressure, buddy. Now,
at the end of the day, I went with the team that I think was the impetus behind the feud of the year. The one that kind of forced the other team's hand into making it happen when it did, the way it did, in the fashion that it did, which is why this Egie for Tag Team of the Year is going to FTR.
Now,
this is not to say that the Young Bucks are not deserving, because they most certainly are. This category was one of several where it felt like we had the microscope out and we were splitting hairs.
This one, more than anything, Brian, this was the one. I mean, when we get to Male Wrestler of the Year, that one was a debate. That one was a debate. Women's Wrestler of the Year really wasn't that much of a debate. Match of the Year was probably a little more of a debate than Male Wrestler of the Year.
Right.
This was a fight. Easily the most contested of any of our categories.
Because here's my theory on this. Suppose FTR wasn't in AEW and they were plying their trade somewhere else. I think what the Bucks would be doing is having great matches with the plethora of wonderful tag teams that are in AEW still. Guys like SCU and the Hybrid 2 and the Dark Order and Butcher and Blade and Lucha Bros, and the list goes on and on.
In the deepest tag team division in all of professional wrestling globally.
Yes. But the reason I'm giving the nod to FTR here is I think once they showed up,
the landscape
they were not to be ignored. They were just not to be overlooked. we're going to do this thing. We're not going to wait 3 years or 4 years to do this thing. We're going to do this.
Yeah, the landscape changed.
And it's going to be fantastic. It's going to be eye-popping. There's going to be story and psychology and promos and all of the things that all the elements you want to throw in the soup to make the payoff bellissimo. And believe me, the payoff was bellissimo.
Exactly. And let's also be honest. You mentioned if FTR were still the Revival and applying their trade in WWE, we would not be having this discussion because the tag team of the year would have been the Bucks because they would have had better matches, bar none. FTR shined on a much better stage. I won't say bigger stage because WWE is clearly a bigger stage, but a better stage for tag team wrestling.
Agreed. And that's one of the reasons why we like having these debates every year, folks, when we get together and give these out, because it would be, let's face it, you wouldn't be watching the show if all three of us just agreed in lockstep right down the line. It'd be kind of boring.
We wouldn't be doing this show. I would have given up on it.
Yeah, it's great to have these healthy debates, and there's times where one of the three of us or two of the three of us or even all three of us get really passionate about things. And you can go back and look at all the shows from 2020. We all took turns getting really irate about things and passionate about things, and that's why we love this so much.
We have ended shows pissed off at somebody before. Brian has been pissed off at both of us, not at the same time. He's ended the show pissed off at RJ. He's ended the show pissed off at me. I've ended the show pissed off at either one of them. RJ the same way. Because we've gotten into an argument or we've said something that was nails on a chalkboard to one of the other guys. And you know what? Good. Because if I literally had to do this show and, Patrick, I completely agree with you. RJ, I agree with you.
And then we're going to move along to a category where all three of us agreed. It's a great segue. You should bring it up there. The next category is Women's Wrestler of the Year. And let me preface this by saying what a fantastic year it was for women's wrestling. Clap, 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 clap.
Not the best.
Right.
But damn good.
There were a lot of people that were thrown down all across the board.
Very much so.
The nominees for Women's Wrestler of the Year are Asuka, Bayley, and Io Shirai. And your winner, deservedly so, for the leaps and bounds she took as an in-ring performer and the character development and the championship she held, would be Bayley. Congratulations, Bayley.
I want to point this out. Yes, Brian said that we agreed on this. I'd also like to point out that this discussion, this agreement, lasted about a minute and a half. This did not take long. Because
we're all like, so yeah, it's Bayley, right?
Well, I can't remember how it happened. RJ was making a point about Bayley. I was making a different point about Bayley. And Brian just went, holy crap. Do we even really need to discuss this anymore? No.
Okay, write it down. You like writing things down.
Yeah. No, that was literally it. I think it was RJ made the point about her being a champion for so long. I made the point about the evolution of the character and how it has been a career saver for her. Changed her entire...
Ding dong. Hello.
Yeah. We've been referring to her as Bitch Bayley or Karen Bayley. But she went from being the hugger to, oh crap, this chick's serious.
And programming note, this weekend, on the Broken Skull sessions with Stone Cold Steve Austin. Can't wait because my girl Bailey is going to be on it.
Me neither. I am looking really forward to that one because in the ring, she's a crappy human being. Outside of the ring, she's still awesome. So I'm looking really forward because I've seen like the clips and like the 30-second shot clock and the word association. And, she's very open about life outside of the ring. Word association, Carmella, best friend out of the ring. 30-second shot clock, favorite match of all time, Sasha, Brooklyn. Literally, that's the only two words she said. Sasha, Brooklyn.
Done. Check.
Exactly. So I'm looking very forward to seeing those the Broken Skull sessions with Bailey tomorrow night. That's going to be pretty damn awesome.
All right, I think we all need to do some deep knee bends before these last two categories because and let me preface both of these categories, ladies and gents, by saying this is a great problem for a wrestling podcast like us, this
yes.
lean, mean, wrestle talking machine to have. An abundance of qualified people for Men's Wrestler of the Year and an abundance of qualified matches for Match of the Year. And with that, lends itself to tons of debate.
Real quick.
Yes.
Before we get into these, I want to say this about our Match of the Year list. We had to stop because we kept coming up with more matches. We literally started with a list of 27 matches to consider. This was like the freaking Hall of Fame finalists for the NFL. Here's your long list of 30 guys. We're going to narrow this down to 15. And then
good luck.
We're going to narrow this down to 10. And then here's going to be the 7 that are going to be inducted into Canton.
Well, when you preface it like that, Men's Wrestler of the Year is actually a walk in the park. So let's handle that one first, and then boy.
I was hoping we would do that because I look at it in terms of this. What kind of work did we put in the discussion? We had our two biggest and most heated discussions were Tag Team of the Year and Match of the Year. This Men's Wrestler of the Year was almost as easy as Women's Wrestler of the Year. Once you looked at everything.
True.
With no bias involved. And I say that because RJ was not on board with the winner of the award until the case was made, and now you're doing an apples to apples comparisons with all of these guys.
Yes.
And then RJ was like, well, now that you put it that way.
So the nominees for Men's Wrestler of the Year for the Egie Award for 2020. Your nominees are Tetsuya Naito from New Japan Pro Wrestling, Mr. Brody Lee from AEW, Drew McIntyre from Monday Night Raw, and Roman Reigns from Friday Night SmackDown, who had a hell of a year, let me tell you.
Now, before we do this, you might be asking yourself,
how did I get here? Oh, sorry, wrong song.
Yes, you may ask yourself, how did I get here? Anyway, you might be asking yourself, where's Kenny
Omega? I know how they got here. They clicked on the link and they're watching the show. So
anyway, where's Kenny Omega on this list? Here's why he's not on this list. For the first half of the year, Kenny Omega was a tag team specialist with his tag team partner, one half of the then AEW World Tag Team Champions, Hangman Adam Page. He did not grace us with as a singles competitor until July.
Facts.
But Roman left before Mania because of COVID and didn't come back until SummerSlam. Very true. But when Roman came back at SummerSlam, he changed the entire landscape of what we thought Roman Reigns was.
Acknowledge me as your tribal chief.
Exactly. Kenny Omega, when he came back in July, when he came back to singles, was just still Kenny Omega. Didn't change anything. So, for those of you that want to know why Kenny Omega is not on this list, there's your answer.
You need to calm down.
No.
No, I'm just telling the people who want
no.
him to be. I'm replete with pop culture references tonight. This is I love it.
Y'all need to calm down. Not this cat right here. I'm as cool as the other side of the pillow. Shout out to Stuart Scott.
There you go. And your winner for the Egie Award for Men's Wrestler of the Year goes to Drew McIntyre. Congratulations, good sir.
You may ask yourself, why Drew McIntyre? Here was the case presented to RJ. Drew McIntyre started 2020 on the ascension to being the man. He was in the Rumble, and when we previewed the Rumble last January, we said whoever is the guy that eliminates Brock Lesnar is going to beat him for the title, whether he wins the Rumble or not. But whoever eliminates him is going to be the guy to beat Brock. That was Drew. Drew, I think, was kind of universally our pick to win the Rumble. And when he came out
for sure.
When he came out at 16, 15, whatever it was, low blow from Ricochet, Claymore, and that's all she wrote. There you go. From that point on, Drew McIntyre was on a steady incline to the top of the mountain, beating Lesnar at Mania, and he did not plateau at all. He continued to get better and better and better, and was, in my opinion, and Brian agreed with me, and RJ eventually agreed with me, the perfect champion for WWE in the COVID era, because it was something brand new. If it would have been Roman, if it would have been Brock, if it would have been Strowman, hell, if it would have been The Fiend, we've seen it. We kind of know how this is going to go.
Oh, you would have been, look, Braun Strowman's champion. That's nice. It's not going to put eyeballs on the product.
Right. We didn't know how Drew as champ was going to play out. And we got to watch. And it was great. Like to point out, again, after Mania, Drew spent 45 days without the WWE Championship. He will enter the Royal Rumble as WWE Champion. Do not get me started. We're talking about that next week. Foreshadowing alert. Rant mode on. But Brian, I'm calm tonight.
Okay.
I'm in a good mood tonight.
I feel like I should just keep the train moving to the next category.
I'm good. I'm just going to say this, and I'm going to warn you, and RJ will see this later, and he will be warned as well. I'm in a great mood tonight. Next week, I solemnly swear on the heads of my children and the love of my wife, I'm showing up for this son of a gun in a foul mood, because we're going to be talking about that topic. And your boy, sorry to steal your line, but your boy is going to be spewing some venom.
I would expect nothing less.
Oh.
This brings us, ladies and gentlemen, in Wrestling with Ego's Land, to our final category of the evening. And Patrick was not kidding earlier when he said that at first blush there were 27 matches we were considering for Match of the Year.
Not an exaggeration, boys and girls.
There was so much great wrestling all over the planet this year. And I would like to take this opportunity on behalf of RJ and on behalf of Patrick to congratulate all of the men and women, no matter what promotion you belong to, because you showed out in unheard of circumstances. You know, everybody stepped their game up.
Right.
And this list that I'm about to give you is evidence of that.
I said this on the pre-show. I'm warning, I'm about to say the S word once. As shitty of a year as 2020 was in the grand scheme of things, politically, socially, medically, how all of that, for some reason, 2020 gave us, in the grand scheme of professional wrestling, some of wrestling's best work from bell to bell. And by that, I mean from 1/1/2020 to 12/31/2020.
Exactly. I'm going to attempt to do this in chronological order when I list these matches, because I did not actually do it on my award sheet here, and I just realized that just now. But
so if
I love a good challenge.
If he screws it up, don't get pissed off.
Yeah. Going all the way back to January 25th, NXT Worlds Collide. We had DIY, Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa, versus Mustache Mountain.
Trent Seven and Tyler Bate.
Great. February 26th, AEW Dynamite. We had an Iron Man match between Pac and Kenny Omega, which was phenomenal.
That match still gives me the happies.
And then we skip ahead to September 16th, AEW Dynamite for Best Friends versus Proud and Powerful in a parking lot fight. Then October 7th. October was actually the banner month, if you think about it.
Yes, it was.
October 7th, AEW Dynamite, we had a dog collar match for the TNT Championship. Mr. Brody Lee defending against Cody Rhodes. October 25th, Bayley versus Sasha Banks in a Hell in a Cell match for the SmackDown Women's Championship. Good Lord Almighty.
Well, you said Bayley and Sasha. Enough said.
Yeah. Then 4 days later, October 29th, NXT UK gave us Walter versus Ilya Dragunov for the NXT UK Championship. November 7th at Full Gear, we had FTR versus the Young Bucks for the AEW Tag Team Championships. And our last entrant of the year, a late addition to the list, courtesy of RJ, and thank you, RJ, for suggesting that we watch this match. Lucha Underground, I think it's Lucha Underground, I'm not sure, but it's AAA's Triple Mania.
Right.
December 13th, Kenny Omega defending the AAA Championship against Laredo Kid. If y'all haven't seeked out that match yet, it's on YouTube. It's really easy to find. I found it within like a couple clicks. It's worth your time.
Oh, it was fun. That, without giving anything away, that match was one of two matches all year long I was out of breath after watching.
Yeah, it just goes to show why Kenny is called the best bot machine, because he can show up anywhere at any time and have a match with. It's like he can take Hisn and beat Urine, and he can take Urine and beat Hisn, as they used to say about Bum Phillips.
Yeah. Yeah. So those were our official nominees.
Yes.
Now, Brian, let's break that back down and give our audience our three finalists.
I would say the three finalists from out of that list that we genuinely had back and forth about. FTR versus the Young Bucks from Full Gear. Best Friends Proud and Powerful from Dynamite, the parking lot fight. And the Walter versus Ilya Dragunov match from NXT UK. And when I say those are the three finalists, we're talking about by decimal points.
Yes. We could have made it 4, and we could have put, and honestly, if we were going to do 4, the fourth one I think would have been Omega and Laredo. Holy crap balls. But we went with those because all three of those matches were just unreal in their own beautiful ways. One, FTR and the Bucks. It is a tag team match that we had been building up for years, as we've already discussed on this show, and it did not disappoint. Normally, a match like that, with all that build-up, it flops. For example, AJ Styles and Shinsuke Nakamura at WrestleMania. Wet fart.
My heart still breaks for that match.
Oh my God! What could have been?
Mhm.
Anyway, so those are the three matches that we really fought over, and we fought.
As an ancillary comment, I will say that I fought very, very hard for DIY and Mustache Mountain because I think it's an underappreciated match. There were no titles on the line. It was just, in my opinion, a love letter to tag team wrestling.
Well, at the same time,
it shows you what I wish WWE would reinvest itself in tag team wrestling the way AEW has.
Right. Well, here's the thing. You talk about that being a love letter to tag team wrestling. And yes, it was. But FTR and the Bucks was an even more passionate love letter to tag team wrestling.
Yes, that's why I kind of
used to describe that match.
But I wanted to make sure y'all like just cue it up and watch it. Just please watch it one more time if you haven't already.
Please, it's amazing. Don't get me wrong. I'm one of the biggest Gargano marks there is. Actually, I think all three of us are for our own
agreed. Yes.
various reasons. But the winner of this, and I'd like to give credit where credit's due, the one that argued the hardest and the loudest for this match is a gentleman to whichever side of the camera he's on, because sometimes YouTube flips this thing. I don't know if he's here or if he's there. I don't know. But I'm talking about Brian. Brian fought like hell for this match. And Brian is, because all three of us had a different answer for this. RJ's answer was Kenny and Laredo. My answer for this, I'm not even going to, I'll disclose mine. My answer for this was the parking lot brawl. I have my reasons, and I'll explain those in a little bit. Brian, his argument was for the winner, the 2021 Egie Award for 2020's Best Match of the Year, Ilya Dragunov versus Walter. Brian, we will close the show with you giving your thoughts as to why you argued for that. Let me, before you do that, give my reasons for arguing Proud and Powerful versus Best Friends, because I said I had very specific reasons for it. We've said on this show 1.5 million times, gimmick matches outside of a ring are really hard to pull off because you don't bump as much. You know, if it's, a buried alive match, or if it's a, any kind of, any of the, like the Boneyard match, which was probably, if we were going to do an award for like cinematic masterpiece of 2020, it would have been the Boneyard match. No question about it. But those matches are hard to pull off because you're not bumping in a ring. You're bumping on the hard ground. Hard ground definitely don't give. So by default, the parking lot brawl should not have had as many high spots as it did. And it had as many high spots as, say, for example, DIY and Mustache Mountain. And it was a perfect story. Also got the cameo with Orange Cassidy coming out of the trunk of the car and then dropping a Superman punch, which that was awesome. So when you look at it, that match should not have worked. And it not only worked, it had people talking. But we didn't go with that match. We went with Dragunov and Walter for some very specific reasons. Mr. Krieger.
We talked at length earlier about how wrestling in the year 2020 had a very difficult job to pull off because so many of these matches that we think about, the touchdowns that we watch over and over again, are matches that have big crowd reaction. Edge coming out at the Royal Rumble at number 21 made us feel the way it did because of the reaction of the live crowd in Houston. The double turn with Austin and Bret Hart at WrestleMania 13, the crowd sold it. Hogan and Rock at WrestleMania 18, the crowd sold that in Toronto beautifully.
Amen to that.
Wrestling in the year 2020 had a difficult road to hoe because it revealed how special of a performer you really are, because you had either a severely reduced crowd watching you perform, or in some cases you had precisely 0 people watching you perform, like you did at WrestleMania, essential personnel only. And like, because of the constrictions that there are across the pond in the UK, Walter and Ilya Dragunov, in my opinion, had the most uphill of uphill battles. You got to walk into a building with no crowd.
A sound stage. A sound stage at BT Sport.
Yes. With the championship on the line, and somehow you have to reach through the camera and make us feel something. To be perfectly honest, I did not watch this match as it happened. I was tooling around on YouTube one day and I saw a reaction video where it was Sheamus and Drew, and it was Wade Barrett, and it was a couple other people. William Regal was watching it. Yep. Nigel McGuinness, I believe, was also in on it too. The match was kind of like in a shrunken window on the bottom of the screen, and they're sitting there reacting to it. And it was their reactions to it that made me want to go find the match and watch it for realsies. So I believe it was a week after it actually happened. I watched it. The very next show was when I started telling RJ and Patrick, my God, this Walter Ilya Dragunov match. My God, my God, my God.
Right.
Because it would have been really easy for a guy like Ilya Dragunov, who gives up easily 150 pounds to Walter, easily, to be put over as a squash, as an unbelievable candidate to unseat Walter as the NXT UK champion. Folks, if you haven't watched this match, spoiler alert, that's not what we got here.
Ooh, no.
From what little I know about Ilya Dragunov, he is not scared of anybody who he's in the ring with. He wasn't scared of Finn Balor in the kickoff match of Worlds Collide back in January. He took the fight to Finn like I hadn't seen anybody take the fight to Finn.
Right.
He took the fight to Walter, and he was giving as much as he was receiving. Compound that with the fact that there was a title on the line, and compound that for the fact that it would have been easier for Ilya to tap out at some point or just say, I'm done, I can't take it anymore. But these two went for 27 and a half minutes. Ilya's front and back were turned into hamburger, but so was Walter's.
Walter, from upper pec on his left side, yes, up from upper pec to his shoulder to his neck, were the color of the bricks behind Brian.
Pretty much. And I thought easily 10 minutes in, okay, he's going to pin him. Nope, he didn't. Ilya kicked out. 15 minutes in, okay, he's going to pin him after that. No, he didn't.
20 minutes. Oh my God, Ilya's going to pin Walter.
Yes. So for those reasons primarily is why I fought so fiercely for this as match of the year. But the biggest reason of all is because, again, folks, this was a soundstage with essential personnel, a camera crew, commentators, and that's it.
Right.
And here's your challenge now. You have to build me a compelling story. The menacing Walter against this, frothing at the mouth challenger, and who's going to blink first?
Indestructible kid in Dragunov. Yes.
Yes. So those were the reasons why I fought so hard for this match. But if we film 3 different versions of this show, there could be no arguing the parking lot fight. There could be no arguing Kenny Omega and Laredo Kid either. As I said before, it's a phenomenal problem to have that big of a list of matches to consider for match of the year. And it's just our privilege to watch them, our privilege to break them down, and our privilege to bring our picks for the Egie Awards to you.
Here's one last thing I want to bring up about Walter and Ilya Dragunov. Tooling around on the WWE Network, what's really great now is they have deals with independent companies.
Yes.
And you see some of these indie shows. What I really started to love watching as of late is Progress. Literally from a Progress show in, I want to say it was 2019, or maybe it was, or maybe no, it was 2019. Walter was the NXT UK champ. He was also the Progress champ, and he defended the Progress title in the ballroom against Dragunov. They literally had almost move for move the exact same match.
Oh my God.
You didn't? Here's why. After watching that, I will never argue with Brian. I watched the match in Progress. The crowd reaction, the chants, just the absolute fire that the Progress Ballroom brought. And if you haven't watched a Progress show, oh my God, the crowd will make you believe everything. It's amazing. I watched that. Oh my God, that was good. I watched the NXT UK with no crowd. All you had was the play-by-play guy whose name I can't remember, and Nigel McGuinness just going insane over this match. And I still freaking felt it. I felt it even more because there's no crowd going, oh, when this is happening. When you hear the sound of hand slapping against flesh, either to a pec or to the side of the neck or the jaw. There's nothing to mask it. And it was beautiful and uncomfortable at the same time.
It was a beautiful disaster is what it was.
It was, yeah, beautiful way to die. I mean, you can't, brutality at its best. We'll leave it at that. So, dear bestie, before we get out of here, any final thoughts?
There's already some hella good matches for match of the year for 2021. Y'all better stay tuned because things are happening in the world of professional wrestling, folks.
You mean Ray Phoenix and Kenny Omega, or do you mean Jay White and Ibushi?
Yes and yes.
Do you mean O'Reilly and Balor?
Yes and yes, and like I said before, don't forget about Raquel Gonzalez and Rhea Ripley.
Yeah, Raquel and Rhea Ripley, which looks like that's actually going to be Rhea Ripley's NXT swan song.
Yes.
Man, looking forward to next week. Looking forward to talking about the Royal Rumble because it's coming. Looking forward to talking about what happens this week in WWE and AEW. And I'm looking forward to being just a little pissed off.
But not about the paint job that RJ will share with us.
Oh, yeah, about that. I did say that we were going to make fun of RJ. So here's a little story that may or may not be true. It all depends on who you want to believe. Either me and Brian, or the guy who's not here. So here's the reason that Reginald Johnson Eisenman, I don't know if that's what RJ stands for, but we're going with it.
I like that.
Reginald
That's actually
Eisenman could not be here today. He and his beautiful wife made a bet. And we won't talk about what the bet's over. It had something to do with sports, but not wrestling. And the missus won the bet, which means that she got to pick the colors of their room that they're painting. We now have video of what this room is starting to look like at approximately 9:30 p.m. on January 9th, 2021. And we will leave you with this footage. For Brian and for Reginald Johnson Eisenman, I'm Patrick. This has been Wrestling with Egos. That's our story. We're sticking to it. This is why we love wrestling. And good God, these colors are ugly. She did it on purpose.